Good evening, everyone. This evening, I thought I'll take a stab at this R. Kelly trial, and we know that the man has been convicted on the Mann Act, not sexual assault, not rape, not sexual harassment, not even pedophilia. But this is bigger than R. Kelly, and I think this needs to be brought to the light because we need to understand the history of laws being bent and twisted in this country to incarcerate black people and majority of black men, because we understand that the black men are the warrior class in the black community, where our job is to protect and secure our families. Now, I'm not defending R. Kelly by no means at all, right? Because we understand that there is some heinous sexual things that he has been allegedly convicted with, but a lot of those convictions are under the Mann Act, okay? But also some of the allegations of some of the sexual encounters he had with younger women and other very demeaningful things. So I'm not trying to defend R. Kelly. I just want to make sure everyone is clear on that. But we need to essentially break down the R. Kelly's case in order to understand the Mann Act and how that affects Black America. Because again, a lot of times like to turn off some of these very insightful orations and commentary about political and federal laws and state laws, but then we get caught up in these same laws and we try to figure out how to combat it. It's better to know now than to know when you need to know, okay? So let's look at this a little more deeply. So let's break it down, family. First and foremost, R. Kelly was convicted of the Mann Act back in 2021. And the Mann Act is racketeering sexual exploitation of a child, kidnapping, bribery, sex trafficking violations. Okay, that's what it is. Now, some of his criminal charges, it says producing child pornography. He said that R. Kelly was acquitted in 2008. Okay, so the child pornography did not account to his convictions where he's actually in jail then, because they had no proof that he was actually trying to produce child pornography. Okay, again, this is not in defense of R. Kelly. And let's break down what acquitted means. Okay, acquitted, if you're looking at the let's see here, free from a criminal charge by a verdict of not guilty. She was acquitted on all counts. R. Kelly was acquitted on all counts when it came to child pornography. Again, do not get caught up in the R. Kelly case. I want you to get caught up in the Mann Act. I'm leading, I'm going somewhere. But again, I must dissect, I must pick apart. Some of these things are in the R. Kelly case for you to understand the transition, the compare and contrast of the Mann Act. Okay, this is the culprit here. This is the victim. The Mann Act, okay, rather the victim, but the persecutor. Let's look at this very, very quickly. R. Kelly. Jury finds R. Kelly guilty on all counts in federal sex trafficking trial. Not pedophilia, not rape, not sexual assault, not sexual harassment. Again, federal sex trafficking trial. Let's move it along. Now, when we look at some of these things, I wanted to break this down to you guys. When we look at, where is this at? I think I'm ahead of myself. Give me 1 second, family. Here we go. Let's just take, for instance, this is the law in Illinois. It says 17 years of age. The age of consent for any type of sexual activity is typically 17 years of age. This means anyone younger than 17 years of age cannot lawfully consent to any type of sex act involving sexual conduct. Sexual conduct is a touching of any sexual organ. So there's some other information out here that's very important that you guys must understand, is that it is illegal, and this is in Illinois, it's illegal for anyone over the age of 24 to have sex with someone under the age of 18. Because 17, they might have the consent of someone of 24 and younger, but anyone over the age of 24, they don't have the consent under the state law. Okay, so I know a lot of you know that R. Kelly was dealing with a lot of younger women under the age 17, but I wanted to bring the law to you first so we have a set premise. Now, let's break down the Mann Act. Don't worry, we're not going to read it all, but I highlighted some of it for you guys so we can depict what the Mann actually is. And then we're going to go back to some of the things that can be carried under the Mann Act. So the Mann Act, knowingly transporting any individual, male or female, in interstate or foreign commerce on any territory or possession of the United States for purposes of prostitution or sexual activity. So we understand that R. Kelly, from a lot of things that came out this trial, even the parents, he wasn't trying to prostitute the women, but it had to do with sexual activity. Now, section 2423, solely with the transportation of minors, solely, meaning only, meaning singular, solely with the transportation of minors under the age of 18, and provides an enhanced penalty. So just because they're under the age 18 and you are transporting them, and this doesn't even state that it's sexual. Listen to that. It's not even sexual at this point. Okay, have you noticed that? Because if you go back here, even though I read the unhighlighted part, it says that which is a criminal offense under the federal or state statute or local ordinance. Then it jumps to another section. It says solely with the transportation of minors under the age of 18 and provides an enhanced penalty. Then it says this section should generally be used when minors are victims, although the other two sections also cover minors. Okay, you have to look at the trick language there. Then we're going to jump down here. The Supreme Court held the under certain circumstances, a woman could be indictable as a conspirator in her own transportation. Then it jumps down and said, held that a woman who merely assents her transportation without taking a more active role in promoting it is not guilty of a substantial offense under the statute. Do anybody know what that means? It means that the woman can lie and get away with it and won't perjure herself. That's basically what that means, right? It says held that a woman who merely assents, agrees to her transportation without taking a more active role, meaning that she's not fighting and scratching and trying to kill the people in promoting, it is not guilty of a substantial offense under these statutes. So even though she goes along with it, she will still not be found guilty. Let me know if I'm wrong, family. Let me know if you're not understanding that. Okay, let me go on. It says here, the court also held that such a woman cannot be charged with conspiracy. She cannot be charged with conspiracy, family, meaning she cannot be charged. She will be exonerated on all charges, even if she go along with the prostitution self-trafficking ring. Listen to this. This is the Mann Act. This is the act that R. Kelly was convicted under. He was not convicted of rape. He was not convicted of sexual assault. He was not convicted of sexual harassment. I am not defending R. Kelly, but I want you to see the language in the Mann Act to understand how R. Kelly got incarcerated, which I do believe he belongs in jail, but that's neither here nor there, but he's in jail for the wrong thing. And again, we're going to go through this thing, ladies and gentlemen. So please don't turn down your YouTube channel. Don't turn off the video. Stay with me. You might get some insight. And I am not trying to protect R. Kelly, okay? But I want you to see how they can do other black men and also black women. Again, held that a woman who merely assents to her transportation without taking a more active role in promoting it is not guilty of a substantial offense under the statute. The court also held that such a woman cannot be charged with conspiracy, and there were the only co-conspirators is the man who transported her on her cause of her transportation. A conspiracy charge against him must fall also. You with me, family? Hopefully you guys are with me. Hopefully you guys are with me. Let's move it along a little bit here. Sex trafficking is a form of modern day slavery in which individuals perform commercial sex through the use of force, fraud, or coercion. Minors under the age of 18 engaging in commercial sex are considered to be victims of human trafficking, regardless of the use of the force, fraud, or coercion. So R. Kelly was convicted of human sex trafficking under the Mann Act. So some of you are now asking yourself, what does he mean that they can use this act against other black people, and majority probably black men? Because R. Kelly, clear and simple, did something heinous to these women of a sexual nature. Is he defending R. Kelly? Hell no. Let me break down the Mann Act to you, and let me give you some of the historical references of the Mann Act. Don't forget about the first Black American boxing champion Jack Johnson. You guys remember him back in the 1930s? Did you know that Jack Johnson, he was accused of transporting a prostitute from Pittsburgh to Chicago? Jack Johnson was convicted, and he was given the maximum sentence. And at the time, it was only a year and 1 day. And all the rooters and critics came out and said that he was guilty and this, that, and the other. But do you believe that the young lady he was transporting across lines and quote unquote in support of prostitution and human trafficking, did you know that was Jack Johnson's white girlfriend? And a lot of people believe that this was racially motivated. And this had nothing to do with her age. She was actually of age. Now let's talk about Chuck Berry, okay? The king of rock and roll. Back in 1995, he was convicted under the Mann Act of transporting across state lines an underage Native American girl. I believe she was Apache. He was arrested on a prostitution charge weeks later. He ended up serving 20 months in prison on a variety of charges, but that is the main charge that they got that brother with. Break it down even more. Let's go to the current day trial on R. Kelly. We're connecting the Mann Act here. It says that the two women, 21-year-old Azero Clary and 23-year-old Jocelyn Savage, are allegedly members of a sex cult, okay, where Kelly reportedly holds women against their will. It says here in the article, blah, blah, blah. He didn't identify Claire and Savage by name, but their parents later confirmed their identities, okay? Let's go down to some of these highlighters I have here. R. Kelly, he says he did not have sex with Claire when she was 17, but said her parents wanted me to. Now, the question is this in this trial. Why did R. Kelly point out the parents? I've never seen in any trials dealing with sexual harassment, sexual assault, the Mann Act, or rape, where the accuser, the person who's being accused is actually blaming the parents. Let me look further into this, though. He then states the singer said Clara and Savage's parents handed their daughters to him, suggesting they wanted money out of it. This was a transaction. But see, the parents have not been convicted of human trafficking because these are their kids. And I'm not saying that the parents are guilty. I don't know to believe R. Kelly. I don't know to believe the parents. I just don't know. But this is very intriguing and interesting that when a lot of you guys was following this case, you was probably watching one news channel. You wasn't watching multiple news channels. You wasn't probably detailing, because we know for a very long time, ever since Aaliyah, that R. Kelly liked younger women, like really young. Because I believe he married Aaliyah when she was 15. Okay, so and that's already sick to me as a male. 15, really? So, and even at that time, he was much, much older than her. Okay. Now, Claire and Savage are sticking with with Kelly. Their parents think they are brainwashed. Remember, the news had us thinking, and still probably to this day, that R. Kelly brainwashed these women. Okay. And I'm going to show you all what I have here. And this is from Clara. She said, you guys don't know the truth. You believe in some bullshit facade that our parents are saying. This is fucking lies for money. Why would she say that? Why would she say this is for money? And she's the one sticking with R. Kelly and talking about her parents, that this is about money. And she said, if you can't see that, then you're ignorant and you're stupid. Very, very important that, you guys see this. I know you can't see. Let me show you. It's very important that you guys understand this, because this is what the so-called victims were saying at the time, that this was all about money. R. Kelly said it was about money. Then they said it was about money. Okay. Now, I don't know the time in between. Did R. Kelly brainwash the women to say this, or were they with their parents at the time, or this is still going around when the allegations came out? So everything is very time sensitive here, that we understand how this went down. But keep your eyes on the Mann Act, because again, R. Kelly was not convicted of rape, sexual harassment, and sexual assault. I want to keep drilling that down, because this Mann Act can be used against anyone. It was used against Jack Johnson. It was used against Chuck Berry. It was even used against Charlie Chaplin because of his political views. You see that? They will racialize and weaponize this Mann Act against Black people and mainly Black men, but they even weaponize this Mann Act to take down Charlie Chaplin because of his political views. Very important. Okay? So I want you guys to look at this video with me so you essentially understand the emotion that this woman displayed. And then I'm gonna give you, I'm gonna show you also clips of this video of 2 years later and how her whole story changed and she was hurt and manipulated and he did this and he did that. And I'm not saying he didn't do any of those things, but this seems more real. This seems more authentic. This seems more genuine than her video interview 2 years later where she seems very much coached. Okay, let's just watch this. Fair use, fair use.
We also talked to Jocelyn and R.Kelly about living with R. Kelly and their estranged relationship with their families. It made them very emotional, too.
Tell me, Azrael, why you're crying. Tell me.
I'm crying because you guys don't know the truth. You guys are believing some facade that our parents are saying. This is all lies for money. And if you can't see that, you're ignorant and you're stupid.
We'll bring you more of that interview on Friday.
Exactly. Let me just play that one more time. I know it's very short. Let us hear her once again. I just want to hear the young lady speak. Give me a second here.
Relationship with their families. It made them very emotional, too.
Tell me, Azrael, why you're crying. Tell me.
I'm crying because you guys don't know the truth. You guys are believing some facade that our parents are saying. This is all lies for money. And if you can't see that, you're ignorant and you're stupid.
And I want to point out, don't forget the lady that's speaking. The time she got was the time and the age that she got with R. Kelly was when she was 17. So, of course, she wasn't as mature as she is now. But this is even after R. Kelly went to jail, this interview that occurred. R. Kelly was already incarcerated. He was already in prison. And so I want to make this connection here because to me, this is my personal conviction and my personal perspective that this interview seems very authentic and real, and she's telling the truth about R. Kelly. Now you see the two women here. One is Savage, and the other is Azale, or whatever. I forgot her name. Excuse me. But now I want you to go look at this video that occurred last year on the same situation. Now, just give me your opinion in the comment room. I don't want to lean you one way or another, but I'm biased on this. I just believe that she's been coached on this, but please take that with a grain of salt and give me what you believe.
Survivor R.Kelly.
Fair use, fair use.
A jury convicted Kelly this week of 9 charges. Now, 5 of those related to crimes committed against her, including transporting a minor across state lines to engage in sexual activity. Clary, who is now 23 years old, says Kelly abused her verbally and physically for years. The first time we met her, she was 21 years old and she was still living with R. Kelly. We spoke with her again yesterday. It's her first interview since the trial.
Come on in, Azrael. Well, you look good.
Thank you. So do you.
Let's see.
I'll just start with this. I'm really glad to see you again because I wasn't sure I'd ever get to talk to you again.
I'm very happy to be here and see you again as well.
It feels like a full circle moment to me. When we first met R.Kelly in March of 2019, she had been living with R. Kelly for almost 5 years and was one of his fiercest supporters.
Because you guys don't know the truth. You guys are believing some facade that our parents are saying. This is all lies for money.
Clary and another woman, Jocelyn Savage, told us then that they were in a relationship with the embattled R&B singer. But Clary left the apartment she shared with Kelly in Chicago 7 months after our interview.
I was lost and I felt invisible, and you know, I gave someone that control over me to basically make me do whatever it was that they wanted me to do and act however they wanted me to act.
During R. Kelly's trial,
Very, very interesting, family. Very, very interesting. Now, I know I just gave you a short clip. Of course, you can go look at that video by Gayle King, but that little clip, and they even did a compare and contrast. And she stated she was very lost. She was, you know, she probably mentioned that she was coerced. We're not going to watch the whole video. It's quite lengthy, about 10 minutes or so. But I just wanted you guys to see how her demeanor totally changed, right? How where a man I guess she loved was going to jail, and that she knew the first dealings of the situation between their parents and him, and that it was a financial transaction, okay, allegedly. And now 2 years later, I don't see Savage. I wonder where Savage is, because they probably would have did a follow with both of them, but maybe she didn't agree with Azari what she was doing. All right. And again, a lot of time we sell out for the bag. I'm just keeping it real. Good evening, Jay Darnell. I'm just keeping it real, because a lot of times we sell out for the bag. And to make this story even real, I don't know what occurred there, but I definitely want you guys to hear some of what R. Kelly was referring to and speaking about. And it made a lot of sense to me. Again, this is not in defense of R. Kelly, but I want to bring some insight on his case and some of the things that R. Kelly went through, as well as the allegations and the actual thing that he was convicted on, which was the Mann Act. So let's just watch a little bit of what R. Kelly said about this case, because Gayle King said she was very surprised that he even came on the set to answer the questions and be interviewed during his trial. Fair use, fair use.
Have you done anything wrong?
Lots of things wrong when it comes to women that I apologize, but I apologize in those relationships at the time I was in the relationships.
Have you broken any laws when it comes to women?
Absolutely not.
the 6-part series interviewed 50 people, family members, your former tour manager, numerous women who all claim that you abused them. Are you saying everybody in that documentary was not telling the truth about you? Everybody?
If you really look at that documentary, which I'm sure you have,
I have.
Everybody said something bad about me. Nobody said nothing good. They was describing Lucifer. I'm not Lucifer. I'm a man. I make mistakes.
Hold on, family. That was very good what he said. She said, did you watch that documentary? He said, well, yeah. He said, yeah, all these women, gave all these allegations and alleged crimes that you committed, or you was controlling, and you were all these negative things, you were all these bad things. He said, yeah, that's the thing. Everything they said about me was negative. But see, no one said, well, at a time, R. Kelly was the sweetest, handsomest, most polite gentleman. Basically, he was saying, you see how he's being demonized. Again, this is not defense of R. Kelly. I'm just looking at it from a different aspect in conjunction with the Mann Act. Because again, R. Kelly was not convicted of rape. He was not convicted of sexual harassment, okay, or sexual abuse of any sort. He was convicted on the Mann Act, basically sexual human trafficking.
And by no means am I a monster.
I'm going to name the names. Andrea Kelly, your ex-wife, Kitty Jones, Lisa Van Allen, Lisette Martinez, Geronda Pace, Faith Rogers, Asante McGee. You're saying everything they said in that documentary about you is not true.
They are lying on me.
Why would these women say the same thing about you, that you are controlling, that you are abusive, that you tell women when to eat, when to go to the bathroom, when they can sleep, where they can dress? Why would all these women tell these different stories about you if they were not true? And they don't know each other. That defies logic to me.
Right. Until you hear the explanation. You can start a rumor on a guy like me or a celebrity just like that. All you have to do is push a button on your phone and say, so-and-so did this to me. R. Kelly did this to me. And if you get any traction from that, if you're able to write a book from that, if you're able to get a reality show, then any girl.
Okay, family, right there, R. Kelly is speaking facts. He's speaking straight truth. He said that anyone can speak about any celebrity by pressing a button on their phone, saying something they've done to them, they assaulted them, they raped them of anything. And if it catch traction, meaning that if it goes viral, that people can start being persecuted, allegations come up, and they have the risk of their freedom. Their freedom is being risked by an allegation that was never true. Now, that is very true what R. Kelly is saying, that anyone, especially if you can show proof of having contact of any sort, you stayed at a hotel and this receptionist said that you raped her, you know, all these certain things that essentially occurred, just like Kobe Bryant. When Kobe Bryant, okay, I know this is a touchy subject, but that's okay. When Kobe Bryant cheated on his wife, the white chick, I forgot where he was, I don't know if he was in Utah or not, said that he raped her, and he never got convicted of rape because he said, I didn't rape her. We just had sex, okay? The biggest thing that occurred from the Kobe Bryant trial or case was that he was about to lose his wife, okay? They found out that the young lady was lying. She did it for the bag. And I'm not saying that these women, the victims, but I do believe the parents got some sort of financial something. That's all I'm saying. R. Kelly is not innocent. Don't get me wrong. But I want you to see how this can easily be connected to the Mann Act. Because family, a lot of times we subscribe to one or two news stations and we believe 100% of the stories that we hear. And we think we're hearing it from every angle because they do a good job of showing you different views at the same angle. Okay, you're looking at the same thing over and over again, and what seems to be different angles, but it's the same angle that looks different. Hopefully that makes sense. And this is essentially what they have done. Okay, I am not saying R. Kelly is wrongfully convicted. No, I want us to look at this in a broader spectrum. I want you guys to believe that the Mann Act, just the way it incarcerated Jack Johnson, the first Black American heavyweight champion of the world, just like it incarcerated Chuck Berry, and he got 20 years in prison. One was a girlfriend and one was a friend, and they never could prove that he was human trafficking or essentially prostitution, right? They couldn't get him on solid charges, so they got him under an act. See, when you get convicted of certain crimes, when you can get convicted and you know, allegedly accused, they have crimes. They say theft, first-degree murder, you know, racketeering. They have some sort of, well, racketeering does fall under the RICO and also the Mann Act, but you have these individual laws that you could potentially break and be incarcerated versus them putting something in an act that can be used pretty much for anything. Oh, we saw you with this girl. You guys drove across into Chicago. Yeah, we're going to get you under the Mann Act because I know you was prostituting her. But see, these ladies would never, ever say they were being prostituted, if you notice that. I listened to all these trials. They never said he gave us to other men and women and they paid him for sexual services. They never said that. So again, we need to go back and look at the Mann Act. I'm gonna let this play for a little bit longer so you guys can hear just a little bit more, and we're going to close it out here.
Know that I had a relationship in the past that it just didn't work out. She can come and say the same exact thing.
Are you blaming this on social media?
I'm talking about the power of social media.
In 2008, R. Kelly
Right
was
there.
found.
That's really all we need. Of course, you guys can go and watch this for yourself. And then we're talking about essentially the power of social media, which we all know is very, very influential. So again, what we're going to do here, we're going to quickly go over the Mann Act because this has nothing to do with R. Kelly, but I had to break down the trial. I also gave some commentary about that. But we will be talking about the Mann Act and how this is connected, as I have been doing the entire video. So let me go over. Mann Act, and this is from justice.gov. Cases arising under the Mann Act are investigated by the Federal Bureau of Investigation and are referred directly to the appropriate United States attorney. What's important about that? These so-called crimes were committed in Chicago. So why didn't Chicago get R. Kelly on rape? Why didn't Chicago get R. Kelly on sexual harassment? Why didn't Chicago get R. Kelly on sexual assault? Why didn't Chicago get R. Kelly on pedophilia? That's because they could not convict him on those crimes. I'm not saying he wasn't guilty of those crimes. I'm just saying they could not convict him of those crimes. But they got him on the Mann Act. It says here, the child and exploration and obscurity section of the criminal division is responsible for supervision of the act. It says here, act for several offenses, including the offense of knowingly transporting any individual, male or female, in interstate or foreign commerce or any territory or possession of the United States for the purpose of prostitution, for the purpose of prostitution, for the purpose of prostitution, or sexual activity. Again, sexual activity can be anything. Then it says here solely, which is a criminal offense under the federal or state statute or local ordinance. It goes on to say it's concerned solely with the transportation of minors. It's solely concerned with the transportation of minors under the age of 18 and provides for the enhanced penalty. It states then this section should generally be used when minors are victims, although the other two sections are also covered minors. Okay, so that's what it tells you right there, solely with the transportation of minors under the age of 18. You see, I want you guys to pay attention here. Okay. I want you guys to pay attention here. I'm trying to highlight something that I can't highlight. Here we go. I'm going to highlight these two things. Okay. Because these are different sections. In this section alone, here's section 2423, it's concerned solely with the transportation of minors under the age of 18 and provide for enhanced penalties. Why is this important? Because they put it in another section not to be combined with one section, so they can put out. They said under the Mann Act of Section 2423, you transported an underage female girl in your car, and we believe. Listen to that. We believe. Okay, we think that you have been having sexual encounters in her and possibly prostituting her. Family, they've been doing this with black people for a very long time. They twist and bend laws all at their own will. It's the normal, everyday white, and I say so. We have to be very abreast. We have to be very aware of what the hell goes on in law. Right? And a lot of times you don't have to go far. There's a lot of, oration and commentary that comes out from the internet of respectable black media. Okay. You have a lot of good people out there, and do not count Roland Martin. I do not count him. Okay. We know who he's an agent for. We're not counting him, but there's a lot of good brothers out there. Okay. Not just myself, because I'm somewhat new. I really don't count myself as black media, but I do promote black media. Okay. Especially when it comes to politics and financials. Okay. Anyway, let me move on. We won't skip this time, but this is section 2423, and said it was amended, back in February during that year. It says Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act. The legislative history of these amendments demonstrates Congress' special concern with the sexual exploration of minors. Thus, case falling under these statutes, which involve minors at victims, should be given special priority. Now, the Supreme Court held, this is a case that they're referring to give people more insight about the Mann Act. The Supreme Court held that under certain circumstances, a woman could be indictable as a conspirator in her own transportation. She can be a conspirator in her own human trafficking, meaning that she is willingly doing this. Because why else would she be a conspirator? You see that? You see how they formulate language and they use it even in cases, but you have to read through the, the fine print. They're not being very intelligent here, because you should be able to point it out just like that. Okay. Then it states, held that a woman who merely assents to her transportation without taking a more active role in promoting it is not guilty of substantial offense under these statutes. So basically, if a woman, because they said woman, was to be kidnapped, because that's also part of the Mann Act, to be kidnapped and not fight the people who are kidnapping her, she would not be charged. She would not be held with any crimes, any active role, because she simply didn't fight. And I understand that. Okay, we all can agree to that, because women or men can be kidnapped and be very, very scared and not try to do anything to the people who are kidnapping them, okay, who is trying to human traffic them, because they're scared. Okay, let me move on. And I'm right here, family. The court also held that such a woman cannot be charged with conspiracy, and that where the only co-conspirator is the man who transported her or caused her transportation, a conspiracy charge against him must fall also. Wow. So hopefully I did enough connections and insight. Boy, to really show and inform you guys how federal laws can be used, federal acts can be bent for the master's will. Now, the thing about white supremacy, they will punish their own with some of the same legislation to put other white people in line. That's what white supremacy does. They always need someone to be the example, because more times than not, when they get out of line, they make sure they find a sacrificing lamb, someone like Epstein that they will hold up. Yeah, he was guilty. And next time you guys mingle, transactional, do business with non-white people, we're going to punish you. Okay. Am I saying that R. Kelly is innocent and that he is being punished under the laws of white supremacy? No. I am saying R. Kelly is guilty, but not what he is guilty of, the charges that why he's in prison. Meaning R. Kelly was convicted of crimes that he did not commit. If anything, I would think they would convicted R. Kelly of rape, sexual assault, sexual harassment, imprisonment, because supposedly he was holding these women against their will, but he got them against the Mann Act, which is a federal crime. That's very, very interesting, because the other charges would have came from the district attorney's office out of Illinois. But maybe the federal charges hold more weight and he'll get more time. I'm just stating, everyone knows if your court case is going to federal court, there's a strong propensity of you getting a larger charge, a more charge that will give you more years in a federal prison. We know that holds more weight. But anyway, family, I just want you to be more informed about the Mann Act and not use R. Kelly's case as an example. Again, this is not in defense of R. Kelly, but this was a simple breakdown of how the federal government has historically used legislation, bills, acts, and laws to do the bidding of white supremacy.